Have you ever struggled with Magic Mask 2 and you get that chattering edge and it looks like this, but you wished it looked more like this? Well, today I'd love to share with you a little secret Magic Mask trick that we can do right inside the Fusion page of DaVinci Resolve 20 where we use cropping and scaling. Let's take a look. The secret to this whole Magic Mask trick is basically cropping out sections we don't want Magic Mask to look at. We blow up the image, we increase the scale of it so it has more detail. We do the Magic Mask and we put everything back together. It sounds more difficult than it is, but in Fusion, it's not too bad. And let me show you how it's done. So the image I'm working with is 3840 by 2160 right here, but the idea is I want to Magic Mask out my son, who's pretty small relative in the frame. So first thing I'm going to do, crop tool, CRP, loads that into the flow right after there. I'm going to load it into the viewer, just pick and flick. And then the upper left, you'll see there's this allow box selection. Once I select it, it gives me the opportunity to just click and drag inside the viewer there to make a selection over the area where he's walking. So I'm gone from 3840 pixels wide down to 584 over here. So if you see that, the main thing here is once you draw that selection, make sure he doesn't go off the edge. It looks like he does right there, so I do need to make a little bit of modification, but I might be able to just do it with the offsets over here. So in the inspector, the crop tool, if I just move it so the offset keeps him inside of that bounding box, more or less, we're going to be good to go. Now, the next step of this is to blow up the image so that the edges have a little filtering that's going on with them. It just gives us the cleaner edge that we're looking for. So shift space resize is what's going to allow us to blow up the image. What a resize does, notice we're like in a sort of a squarish pixel right now. It's going to stretch everything out pretty weird, but it blows it up based off of the media in resolution, which is what we're going to actually work on with our Magic Mask. The only thing is I don't want to deal with this distortion. I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to my inspector and say keep frame aspect, and that keeps that same aspect ratio so you're not seeing a distorted image. And after this, we're going to load our Magic Mask. Shift space, Magic Mask, same one from the color page. Load it into the viewer. I like to open a second viewer when I Magic Mask over here so I can see one node while I'm seeing the results of Magic Mask in the other. On the resize node, I'll actually select on his shirt there. Now, if I had only one open, I couldn't find where, I don't know where his legs would be to include his legs, so, but I can because I'm seeing before this has actually happened. And the resize node, that looks like we're in pretty good shape. I will just look at my one viewer now. And Magic Mask, we might as well do this as better because we want the best result. And refine range, I typically just slide this down to 1. I'll hit go, and we'll let this speed up right now so you don't have to watch this rendering. Great, that's done. If you want to see the alpha channel only of this, if you hit A, you'll see the edges that it made. It's not too flickery for a temporal segmentation-based Magic Mask. Now, I like to explicitly tell everyone that I'm working with that I'm only working with the mask of this off of the Magic Mask. And the way that I do that, I'm going to hit C so you can see the color information again, is I use a bitmap tool afterwards. This is optional. I think it makes for a cleaner script, cleaner node flow. And we're just going to take the bitmap over here, put this in after the Magic Mask, and you'll see now we've basically gotten rid of all the RGB pixels from that mask. We're only going to use it as a mask. Just make sure your bitmap channel is set to alpha because that's what it's taking from there. And now we need to get this back scaled down and put into the right part of the canvas, I guess is what you might call it. Because if you look at the image now, it's 3840 by 4373. I need to get it scaled back down to the right size and position. How do we do that? Well, we just invert what we had done with the resize and the crop. So if I take the resize, Command C, Command V, we'll put that right after the bitmap tool. What size do we need to get it back down to? Well, if you take a look at the crop tool and look at the upper right corner, that's the resolution we need to get it back down to. So I've loaded the crop just to see this upper right corner, which if I select the resize, I can now punch in 584 right there. So if I punch in 584 into the inspector, because I have keep frame aspect checked, it automatically gets the second number. I don't have to enter that. So we've got it scaled back down, but it's not living on the canvas, and that's where we invert the crop as well. So this is important. You grab the original crop, hit Command C, after the resize, Command V, and on this crop, we're going to do two things. First thing we're going to do is invert the offsets with negative numbers. So where it says X and Y offset, just go to the very beginning. Just get your cursor in there. We'll put a negative number before 1729. I'll tab down to the next box, negative 441. So just negatives of what was your original crop offsets. And then the size is the size of your media in one. So in our case, it was 3840 by 2160. enter that here. And now what that has done is essentially placed him back into the exact location of the original plate. So we've got a mask that should follow really well. A real common thing people do right now is they put text behind an object walking. We did that a lot on Verizon commercials. I'm going to do that with a merge node, MRG, and I'll take the merge node. So we've got the original footage in the background, put text in the foreground. I'll grab a text tool from over here. Let's disconnect our media out because this will now come off of the media out instead. We'll take the text tool, plug that into the merge. This is not New York City. We'll go ahead and change that over here. Why don't we call this Colorado, where it actually is. And the idea is I want to mask out the area of the foreground in the merge. We can do that by just feeding something into the mask input. This is the mask we have. It's the opposite of what we want, but we can just take care of that in the merge. If I take the output of the crop tool, stick that into the mask input of the merge, the blue input, and then go to the merge settings tab, we have a apply mask inverted checkbox. Once you select that, we basically are saying we want to see Colorado everywhere except where that mask exists. And not too bad, right? If you ever want to come in here and refine the mask, you can come to the Magic Mask matte settings and make some changes. But I want to quickly give you an example. I'm going to run this with the full resolution so you can see a before and after of what the full size, non-scaled up version would look like. Let's do that. I'll load media in 1, and we'll take a new Magic Mask so you can see the other way of doing this would be looking at the full image, and I'll do kind of the same thing. I'll select here. Let's load the original up into here. I need to go way in to get his pants, and if I select better, same way as before, and I track that, we'll see which one's going to win out. I have a feeling the scaled up version is going to be much better. And that's done. Let's take a look at one versus the other. I'm going to do the same thing before. I'll have a bitmap coming right off of this Magic Mask. And we'll take a look at that. I'm going to change my viewer split wipe to buffer B over here. And we'll take a look at this one over here, Command F. And if I come back over, we'll do buffer split wipe. Okay. And what this is going to allow me to do is compare from this mask to this mask. I know which one I'm going to pick all day long. I do not care for that compared to that. So if you want to see what the difference looked like over the text, all we need to do, I'm going to just choose, let's look at this with the color information. Rather than sending that mask in, we'll see what it looks like with that one. See all that garbage there? We don't want that. Hey, if this tutorial was helpful, consider subscribing. My name is Chadwick. This channel is called Creative Video Tips. I teach all things DaVinci Resolve. I'm a DaVinci Resolve Master Trainer. And I just appreciate you so much for hanging out with me today. And because there's so much more to learn, I'll see you in the next video.